First off, I would like to, one, congratulate Coach Byington and the basketball team on doing a great job going down to the Bahamas, getting a win in that tournament and starting off the season 5-0. And it's always great to see our sports, different sports in the athletic department doing a great job and bringing notoriety to Georgia Southern. Last week was great to get back in the win column after 2 losses. And just want to give credit to our players and staff for overcoming adversity and putting us in a situation to go get a victory last week. And looking forward to this week, going back and getting back to work and seeing if we can finish off the season strong.
Coach, all season long you've talked about winning the week, going 1-0 this week, just what the next game up is. Now you've got the last game currently on the schedule. You know there's going to be postseason to come, but do you think it might be beneficial that an in-state rival is the last game, to where if it's in the middle of the season you might have guys get a little too amped up, be looking too forward to it, but now it's the one thing that you can focus on for the last 7 days of the regular season?
Well, I think there's a lot of things that kind of go into this last week. Again, just, taking it one game at a time like we have. But, again, postseason is not guaranteed. Nobody's reached out and said, hey, you're invited to this bowl. That's, with the Sun Belt right now, there's a possibility of ending up with 7 teams being bowl eligible and only 5 bowls to go to. So I think we're still fighting for that, and we got to make sure that we understand that there's a lot on the line this week. And again, playing an in-state rival and the opportunity to try to finish the season strong is something that we need to be focused in on. But we can't get too amped up. We can't get too hyped up. We got to understand that we got to go do what we do and just keep going back to work. And what I thought our guys did a good job last week was trying to drown out noise and just go back to work. And I think that's important that we do that this week also.
Coach, all season long you've talked about using these kids' emotion to your benefit, kind of teaching them to ride the wave. And it took them to some highs, it took them to some lows. They bounced back this week. Are you just going to let them ride it out this week? You just talked about how you kind of want to keep them in check, but is there part of you that just wants to kind of let it fly and say, hey, one more, let's let them go all out and then play with the fire?
I don't think I think that gets away from what we talked about. Like, I think it's very important that our guys understand what we do on Sundays, what we do on even Mondays being an off day, what they got to do with their bodies, what they got to do to make sure that they're getting themselves ready to play a football game. And then the goal on Tuesday, the goal on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then on to game day. I think if we start making it about something different than what we've done, right now we're 8-3, so 8 times we've done it good and 3 times we haven't. So we got to figure out how to try to do it the night time. So I think it's very important that we stick with our process.
Coach, last week defense looked a lot better. You played more of a running team, but they got pressure on the quarterback when they did try to throw. This week you're playing a team that's known to throw the ball a little bit more. Do you feel confident that whatever hurt you in the ULM and then the next game in the Troy game has been fixed or dealt with as you go into this one?
We've definitely worked on that. Every Sunday after ball games, we try to go in with our corrections and say, this is what hurt us, this is what we got to get better at. We've worked hard at that stuff. Against ULM, we got burnt with some RPO stuff, and a lot of that's because we're aggressive in the run game and we want to stop the run. And sometimes, our eyes get a little bit dirty and we're not disciplined in looking at all our keys. So I think we've addressed that. I feel confident that our guys are getting better at that. And then Troy, we got hit with some surprise plays, and then we also got hit on some deep balls where we were in position to make a play. They made a better play. And so, we're continuing to work on that stuff, making sure our technique's good and ready to go there. When I watch Georgia State, they do a good job of throwing the deep ball. They do a good job of completing passes like that. So we got to be on point and be ready for those types of things. But I think the big key is just getting our guys, just make sure they're playing their technique, settling down, and make sure that their eyes are disciplined.
You just mentioned a couple weeks ago having to deal with some surprise plays, and you talk about wanting to just make sure that you guys execute what you do well, but in not only a rivalry game, but a game where you look at their record and they don't have another game to play for this season. Do you have to balance what you focus on and what you do well with the thought in the back of your mind that they don't have as much to play for, they could do something that you just haven't seen all year?
I think we're making a huge mistake if we're going this game thinking they don't have much to play for. Their record does not indicate what type of talent they have on their football team. You know, I just sit there and watched a few games on them, and I'm sitting there. They've got talent. They got guys that can play, and they're gonna. I mean, everybody wants to call it a rivalry, but shoot, we ain't won the last three. Right now they got the leg up on us, and so I would assume they would still want to continue to do that. And our guys have got to understand we got to go play our best game this year to try to get a victory.
Coach, you just mentioned it. They've owned this series the last 3 years, and we asked Monkwaven, we asked Wesley, how does that sit in the locker room knowing that they've won 3 straight? How do you think it sits for the guys knowing that Georgia State has this win streak on you?
I don't know any other way to. We don't like to lose, and so losing to any team does not feel good. So obviously we want to try to change that, and our whole thing is we got to find a way to get better each week, and we got to go into this week with just being dialed in and make sure that we understand that we better bring our best game to try to go get a victory.
Coach, you guys have talked about the juice before the games, you know, that sometimes it's there, sometimes it hasn't been there, and it's been hard sometimes on these road games when there's not been a lot of fans there to get that. This week, you're playing in Atlanta, and a lot of Georgia Southern fans show up for those games in Atlanta. You've seen it yourself where they've had twice as many as Georgia State has for games. Do you feel like that will help you guys as well, knowing that your crowd's going to come out? I mean, heck, they came to Coastal this past week.
Yeah, it was really impressive last week at Coastal. The fans that we had there, and we could hear them. You know, but I do think our guys did a really good job going into this past game of creating their own juice. Obviously, it was really nice to see our fans there, and I know we'll have a big crowd at this game also. But we got to make sure that we understand that we are on the road, and that being on the road means that we've got to go play our best game because we don't have the power of Paulson, but we do have the power of Eagle Nation. So, again, I think it's just about our process. Make sure that we're locked in, dialed in, and not just looking for something else to energize us. Let our play energize us.
Coach, on some of your 3rd and short and 4th and short, you've struggled a little bit with that. You've got a guy in the CJ Wright with a unique style. He ran the ball in high school. You had success against Clemson with him. Haven't seen him since then. Have you guys talked at all about getting him back involved in the offense, or is he strictly on defense from now on?
CJ's a guy that we did discuss early on, especially the Clemson game and then on. You know, and I don't really talk about this a lot, but he had a thumb injury that kind of kept him from being able to carry the football, and we didn't want, you know, at one point he was wearing something on his hand, and it was hard for him to carry the football and being able to grasp it, and, you know, we're worried about ball security there. He's doing a really good job on the defensive line, so we just don't want to put him in a situation where he can't be successful. Obviously, he's a guy that we have definitely looked at, but because of injuries, because of kind of being banged up a little bit, it's not been a situation that we've been able to do.
Better